All right. Welcome to another exciting live stream. Today we're talking about where North Carolina millionaires actually live. So, everyone moving to North Carolina assumes that the big money lives in Charlotte, but if you buy into the nice areas from that assumption, you will overpay for the wrong zip code while the actual wealthy areas sit one town over. In fact, North Carolina's richest man writes software in Cary. The biggest house in America is in the mountains west of, western North Carolina. And the priciest zip in the Carolinas isn't, as you might guess, uptown Charlotte. So let me show you exactly where the old money, NASCAR money, and new money really live so you can figure out where you want to plant yourself to get the right place, the first go around, the first time. So let's talk about first the map that doesn't match the myth. That's a crazy title. I don't know about that. Everyone thinks North Carolina money lives in Charlotte. However, the map is going to show you otherwise. I'm going to pull up the map here in 1 second. If you'd like to connect with me on Instagram, a lot of people ask me questions there. I do also post a lot of useful content about home buying over there as well, and I'm going to be posting on there more very soon. So it's a good place to check out. Here's the map of both Charlotte and North Carolina to give you a little bit of context. So where do people assume North Carolina's wealthiest people live, and where do they actually live? Well, it is true that Charlotte is the second largest banking center in the U.S. We have Bank of America headquartered here. We have Truist headquartered here, among many other financial institutions in both uptown and then a lot of insurance companies and things down in Ballantyne to the south end of the city. Now, what you might be surprised here is that North Carolina's richest resident, the wealthiest man in the state, is Jim Goodnight, who has a net worth, according to Forbes, of approximately $9.9 billion. And we'll pull up good old Jim Goodnight, CEO of SAS Institute. So anyways, homie lives in Cary, and of the billionaires who live in North Carolina, most are in the Triangle, which again, to pull that back up, Triangle is not going to be Charlotte. Triangle is actually going to be over here, Raleigh, because it is the Raleigh-Durham Chapel Hill Triangle. Research Triangle Park, the Triangle. You can see right there. And so only one, Red Ventures' Rick Elias, calls Charlotte home. And so, we're starting with the people who are sitting on the most money. Start with the people sitting on the most money, and you won't even end up in Charlotte. Not sure what that's supposed to. Let me try that again. So if we look at the people who have the most money, many of them don't actually live in Charlotte. And so North Carolina's wealthiest man doesn't I'm looking at my notes here. Let me try that again. And so why does the wealthiest man in North Carolina not call Charlotte home? Well, again, Jim Goodnight, if we go back to this gentleman right here, SAS Institute co-founder, he has a net worth of $9.9 billion according to Forbes, and he lives and calls Cary, I'm going to say Cary, Indiana, that'd be crazy. No, he lives in Cary, right here. John Saul, the other SAS Institute co-founder with a net worth of about $5 billion, $4.9 billion, also lives in Cary. Tim Sweeney, founder of Epic Games, which is the creator of Fortnite, also in Cary. And so 3 of the state's wealthiest residents are all in one town. And I'll show you, it is a nice town. There's some very nice areas around here. There's also, some not so nice areas, but it's a very nice town. A lot of people do really like Cary. Just to give a little sample of the town here. again, I don't know Cary particularly well, so I'm probably, I mean, Scratch Kitchen, this ought to be a nice area around here. I don't know what to say if it's not a nice area. I just don't understand the allure. I've watched videos about it. I really don't understand the allure. I'll be so real, but whatever. For the banking capital, aka Charlotte, how many billionaires does Charlotte actually have? Well, we have exactly one, and that is Red Ventures co-founder Rick Elias, who's worth about $1 billion. And then people that used to live in good old Charlotte but don't currently include David Tepper, the Panthers owner, who has a net worth of about $21 billion, and Michael Jordan, who has a net worth of about $3.5 billion, are heavily connected to North Carolina and Charlotte in particular. But both reside in Florida and call Florida home. So why did the biggest fortunes land in the Triangle instead of in the city of money, the city of gold and gold storage facilities that is Charlotte, North Carolina? Well, again, SAS Institute and Epic are private, so they just they chose to. I don't know if they're from. Let's look it up. I'm curious. Is he from there, or did he just? He's born in Salisbury. Interesting. Businessman, software developer. Born in Salisbury, North Carolina. Lived in Greensboro until he was 12. Moved to Wilmington. He went to NC State. He was a member of TEAC, Tau Kappa Alpha, or it's not Alpha, good Lord, Tau Kappa Epsilon at NC State. And in 1976, they founded SAS Institute, or SAS. So they develop, build, market a suite of analytics softwares which help to access, manage, analyze, and report on data to aid in decision making for, I assume, enterprises. Interesting. By 1979, SAS had outgrown its original office in Raleigh, and so Goodnight felt it would be good for the company to move out of the city into a more serene location, and they eventually decided on Cary. Moved into new office in 1980. They went on to continuously grow over about 30 years. One of the largest privately held software providers in the world. Their campus in Cary has grown to cover 900 acres, approximately 4,000 of the companies. 10,000 employees are based there. Since 2021, Goodnight has been guiding the company's preparation for an IPO. Planned IPO will allow the company to offer stock options to employees and to raise its profile. Interesting. I get curious about this. So basically, homie is born and raised in North Carolina, just decided to never leave, and that is admirable. So, Raleigh's holding family controls First Citizens Bank, which bought Silicon Valley Bank in 2023, minting several family billionaires. Durham's Dennis Gillings built clinical research giant IQVIA, which is worth $2.1 billion approximately. And so, because of this, the Triangle's been a center for life sciences, tech, software, and the like. and you do see a lot of jobs and a lot of a lot of people that move to Raleigh specifically for those companies. And so since 2018, about 30 life sciences firms have committed approximately $8.9 billion and 7,000 jobs to the region. I actually have some clients that moved here from California, specifically because this one gentleman, his wife works in the biofield. And so for her, if she wasn't going to be in San Francisco, really the only other place that you would be able to find work in her career would be in Raleigh. And they have kids that are very active and trying to go pro for soccer. And as Charlotte has begun to become a hub for soccer or football, there's been, because we have training facilities and stuff here, and FC Charlotte that's become really big. Especially for them, it really made sense. Like, Charlotte was really the only place that made sense to move, so she would be able to commute over to Raleigh a couple times a month as need be, and then have their kids be able to go practice for soccer every day. So is Charlotte's wealth, capital, reputation just wrong? Not exactly. Charlotte still has the highest value real estate and the biggest finance paychecks for the state. And bank money is primarily salaries and bonuses. You got a lot of banking jobs in Charlotte. And the triangle money is more so ownership stakes in tech companies. And again, a lot of, pretty good number of tech jobs. It's not going to be like Silicon Valley, but there's still, relative to the eastern part of the U.S., we have a decent amount. I know Florida and New York have a decent amount, but there is a lot in Raleigh. There still is a good amount in Charlotte, but there's a lot in Raleigh. And so the big money in the triangle is all ownership stakes, and really centers around Cary, and I've heard also a little bit in Apex as well. Now, new tech money clusters in the triangle, but the oldest money in the state built something that you can still walk through. And this is one of my favorite things, and actually one of the very first things that ever brought me to North Carolina. And that is going to be when I went on a family vacation some 20 years ago, makes me feel very old to say, to the good old, biggest home in the entire U.S., you guessed it, the Biltmore estate in Asheville. And so it is true. The biggest house in America is not on the West Coast, is not in New York, it's not out in the Hamptons, it's not in San Francisco. It is in Asheville, North Carolina, tucked away in the mountains. And it is truly magnificent. If you even visit the Carolinas, you are obligated. I'm going to tell you that you're obligated to go check this out. Yes, the ticket prices have gotten a little bit outrageous. And believe me, I'm willing to spend money on stuff. I am willing to spend money on stuff. But the ticket prices have gotten a little bit outrageous in the last few years. But if you're coming here, you got to check it out. It's just part of it. So how did the Biltmore come to exist? Who built it? Where did it come from? Why is it here? Well, if we go back to the 1800s, George Vanderbilt decided to construct, if I remember correctly from the tour, some 20 years ago, constructed it for his wife as a very magnificent gesture of his love for his wife. 175,000 square foot home that is just, it keeps going. It's mind bending. Like, it's insane. It's truly a castle. Actually, North Carolina has a lot of castles. I don't know if you knew. On the East Coast, maybe we'll make a video on that. But it's 250 rooms. It is a French-style chateau, and it is still the largest, I believe it's the largest home in the U.S. and also the largest privately owned and maintained home in the U.S. It opened in 1895 and once spanned 125,000 acres. I don't know if you can see that. That's a bowling alley from 1895. Now, there's apartment buildings. Actually, there's a couple in Charlotte that have bowling alleys in them. This is from 1895. That's pretty cool. It's worth spending a day there exploring. You got to go both in Christmas, because you can see how much they dress it up for Christmas, but you also got to go during the summer because the gardens there are spectacular. I digress. So Biltmore Forest, let me see if I can pull up, I'll tap through a couple more of these and then I'm going to pull up a picture of the forest. It's spectacular. But Biltmore Forest and the gated enclave, or which is, I should say, the gated enclave beside it, still posts a median home value of a little over $1 million. Again, I don't, you can't even put a price tag on this because one, it's historic, and I don't know how you would even begin to appraise what it's really worth. Here you can see. Where is Biltmore Forest? Let's see, because it's the actual. If I remember, it's the actual like neighborhood. Here we go. Oh yeah, it's Biltmore Forest Country Club. Let's drop in here and see. It's some older homes, beautiful development, large, spacious lots, and median home value is a little over $1 million. And Lake Toxaway, which is, I feel like that's a terrible name for a lake. It just sounds like you're gonna, I don't know, get Spidey superpowers or something. But it's a real place. Lake Toxaway. So just to zoom out and show you. So we are, let's see, Asheville. So this is Biltmore Forest up here. So if you go, it's not as far as it might look. It's maybe 45 minutes to the southwest. It's an unincorporated community in western Transylvania County, North Carolina. Yes, that is the real name of the place, Transylvania County. And it's the largest privately held lake, a retreat that the Fords, Edisons, and Rockefellers once used to frequent with, and the homes around here are around 1.5 million. And like, look at these nature views. And this is one of the things that until you truly personally experience it, there is no way to really put into words just the spectacular grandeur of the Blue Ridge Mountains. I can imagine discovering those in the late 1800s, early 1900s as, you know, one of those handful of families that had more money than anybody else and everybody else combined by a mile in the US, right? The Rockefellers and the Vanderbilts and all of them, they could buy literally anything. And there's a reason why they decided to buy large estates and build incredible estates in the Blue Ridge Mountains, because like, look at this. It's so cool. And again, especially in the fall time, unbeatable. So, what did the old industrial fortunes leave behind here? Another one in a different part of North Carolina, going out towards Winston-Salem, is the R.J. Reynolds 1,067 acre estate. Let's see if we can. Reynolda. Which it has a 40,000 square foot, 100 room manor that was built between 1914 and 1917. Let's see, Reynolds Manor. Let's just see what pops up. Reynolds Manor Drive. We're going to try Googling this because for some reason it's not wanting to pop up. Reynolda, here we go. Museum and Historic House. And so there's so much incredible Gilded Age architecture that you're going to see in the Carolinas that I feel like a lot of people just don't even necessarily realize is here. Let's see, tours. Learn with Reynolda. Spectacular architecture. Some of the best in the country, and some of the most historic too. Let's see if we can find. History and timeline. Why do they have such a crappy site? We will, on the final edited version of this video, we will make sure to get lots of photos and whatnot. Oh, wait, here, online galleries. We'll see if we can get something. Like, look at how just incredible. Granted, this is a painting. I'm sure there's some extra drama that was added to that. But there's just, let's see, genesis of the collection. There's just some absolutely incredible history and so much beauty in the Blue Ridge Mountains. And just, granted, Winston-Salem, not so much in the mountains there, still pretty close, but absolutely just beautiful. Now, the Duke family went from an 1852 Durham farmhouse to Duke University, Duke Energy, and Charlotte's Duke Mansion. Also had a huge impact on the state and honestly the entire country. A lot of people, whether you write your check directly to Duke Energy or not, don't realize they own a lot of the energy production in the United States. And they're just a huge power player. I think they're number 2 or 3, maybe even, might be higher than that now. But why did the giants of industry decide to call North Carolina home, decide to move into the mountains instead of the cities? Well, tobacco, textiles, and railroads created Gilded Age fortunes here that wanted privacy and also the cool mountain summers because the weather's absolutely unbeatable, especially when you get into the western part of the state. Vanderbilt's picked Asheville because he fell in love with the views, and again, I fell in love with the views too. Like, there's nothing, let's just pick a random spot on like I-40. It's just so pretty out here. Let's see, come on. Yeah, driving along here is just windy, it's up and down. You can see the views off over the mountains too. Oh yeah, Hotspot is one of our local gas station chains here that is very beloved. Here we go. This is a great example of you're just driving down the highway and there's these like spectacular mountain views. You can really see why it's called the Blue Ridge Mountains. And so again, during that period of time, some of the wealthiest and most powerful families in the entire country could pick anywhere, but they chose to pick here because it is just so gorgeous. And so there still is a lot of wealth and money in the mountains. The Highlands Cashiers Plateau is still a trophy country, and individual listings run into multi-millions, especially for some of the ranches, and buyers from Atlanta, Charlotte, and Florida, and Texas, amongst other places, keep the seasonal market hot as well. So there's some nuance to especially this part of the country, which is why do people come here and where exactly do they come in when we're talking about Western North Carolina, like Buncombe County in particular, which is where Asheville sits. And I think this particular spot that I'm showing you here it's in Canton, which is just west of Asheville, but I believe it still is, it might be on the border. I'm not sure if it's just over, just inside Buncombe County. And it ranks 15th statewide by income, and the estates here are largely second home and also seasonal places for wealthy families, not necessarily places where people are choosing to make their primary home off of a paycheck or something. So absolutely gorgeous to look at, but it's mostly money that was made somewhere else, and then they came here for the beauty and the grandeur of the nature. And so looking at the money here is one thing, but let's also look at where some of the most expensive regular homes that you might actually want to buy are. So some of North Carolina's priciest homes belong to people that drive in circles for a living. Yes, I'm talking about NASCAR. So why do so many different people that are the titans of NASCAR all cluster around Morrisville, North Carolina? Well, it's because it's been nicknamed Race City, USA. Well, I shouldn't say. It's been nicknamed Race City, USA because there's so many NASCAR teams there. And Lake Norman here, especially the north end, has so many race car teams, race car team shops, and drivers have their estates there. Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s Mooresville estate, called Dirty Mo Acres, even has a private Old West style town in the woods. And there's some controversy online as to how large it is, but I wonder if there's photos. Let's see. Dirty Mo Acres. So this is a big old estate, but I'll show you. I mean, you can see where all the construction and new homes are being built and everything. It's just outside. Like you drive past there, you wouldn't even realize. It's maybe 10, 15 minutes away from Lake Norman. Kyle Busch paid $7.5 million for a Lake Norman estate in 2012, a Charlotte area record at the time. Michael Jordan used to have a lakefront estate in Cornelius that he bought for $2.8 million in 2013. It was demolished in 2025 to rebuild, though his primary home is in Florida. And also Steph Curry's first mansion was a quote-unquote $1.275 million home near Waxhaw that was sold in 2019. And it, to be fair, down in Waxhaw, that's just kind of a normal house. But Cam Newton's uptown condo, $2.1 million, sold to Hornet star LaMelo Ball. So why is it this way? Well, how did Lake Norman become a millionaire magnet? Well, the race industry is headquartered here. Teams, shops, drivers all settled within minutes of each other. Lake Norman also gives you phenomenal waterfront privacy plus an easy drive to Charlotte and to the Charlotte tracks, the Concord, like the main one being here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway just down here in Concord, and the airport as well. And the lake is still where a lot of the money goes to, just because Lake Norman's one of the premier lakes in the southeastern United States. Like, we have the Trump National Golf Course here, we have the Lake Norman Yacht Club. The sandbar is very, very well known. Lots of people come to enjoy it, especially with the 4th of July coming up. I'm certain there will be a lot of people out on the sandbar to hang out and enjoy all that it has to offer. And it's also one of the cleaner lakes, as well as one of the largest lakes with, I want to say it's 590 acres, or it's not acres, sorry, 590 stats. 32,475 acres, 50 square miles with 520 miles of shoreline. Absolutely massive. Which, I mean, comparing it even to Lake Wylie is 13,400 acres and 325 miles of shoreline. And is 13 times larger in water volume than Lake Mattamuskeet, which is North Carolina's largest natural lake. So, we got a lot of lakes here. Now, the interesting thing is, while most of the income and assets are inland, the record home sales are all on the coast. So North Carolina's last record home sale was $13.9 million on Figure 8 Island near Wilmington. The prior record of 13 million was on the same island a year earlier. And Wrightsville Beach, or the 28480, and car-free Bald Head Island own the true trophy tier of real estate here. Let me pull up Figure 8 Island. There's just some absolutely incredible nature in North Carolina that you just can't find anywhere else, to be honest. Let's see if we got a good drone photography. Just incredible. Just incredible. Let's see if there's anything else. And then we can also look up Wrightsville Beach, Bald Head Island. No cars and no cares. If you're from the Midwest, you probably have been up to, what's it called? There's a car-free island in Mackinac Island in Michigan. Get to know the island. Old Baldy Lighthouse. Ride a bike, take a hike, kayak the creeks, try stand-up paddleboarding. Stand-up paddleboarding, or SUP. What's up? Scuba and boat charters. I'd love to go scuba diving. Might have to soon. Oh, it was Old Baldy was what I wanted to see. There is the lighthouse, circa 1817, only a short walk from the island's ferry landing. Admission to the Smith Island Museum of History allows you to climb the 108 steps for an incomparable view of the island. Visit oldbaldy.org. That is pretty cool. Pretty cool. Interesting. All right, so we've covered old money, NASCAR money, and beach money. And now let's cover some of the money that is moving here. So last year, North Carolina pulled in more residents than from other states than anywhere else in America. And how much is North Carolina actually pulling in terms of people? And I'm gonna try to come up with something interesting to look at here that's more fun than just my face. We'll just do that for now. All right. How much is North Carolina actually pulling in? Well, we netted a positive 84,000 people from other states in a single year, and which is number one in the nation ahead of both Texas and Florida. The state added 146,000 residents in total and crossed 11.2 million. Now, is it just more people or is it also more wealthy people? Well, the net migration rate for households earning $200,000 or more doubled over the decade from about 12 to 24 per thousand, the single biggest jump of any income group, with the largest gains coming from California and New York, respectively. One thing I'm going to also pull up here. Percentage of U.S. population earning 200K plus. That's households, and this is talking about people. Let's see. U.S. persons earning 200K plus. That still is households. 3 to 5% of individual workers. So that's probably roughly on track. Let's see what it is, North Carolina persons. I want to see individuals. New data from the U.S. Census Bureau showed that 12.5% of North Carolinians were in poverty. Where is the poverty rate? Poverty rate change over time. Let's see. Let's try searching for $200. $200. Let's see. 200. It doesn't show. That's not what I wanted. Households. What I'm trying to see is whether or not we are getting wealthier or being diluted by migration. Median individual personal income was 30. That's an old number. It's gone up substantially. Let's see. Let's just try asking Google and see if it can give us a source. What percentile is 200K in individual personal income in North Carolina? So 5 to 7%. So that means there's probably, what would that be? That'd be diluting the income numbers. So really people are just moving here because it's so cheap to live here. That's really what I'm seeing. And because there's good jobs here. So why would people who have crazy money want to live here? Well, the flat income tax has fallen to just 3.99%, and it's scheduled to hit 2.99% by 2028. Plus, we have no estate or state inheritance tax at all. Plus, households earning over $764,000 is projected to save around $8,000 a year from the 2027 cut alone. So why North Carolina specifically versus Florida or Texas, for instance, that have no income tax? Well, we have far lower cost of living, especially when it comes to property taxes compared to other states like Florida, Texas, California, or New York. We have great proximity to both the mountains and the coast, plus banking, tech, and film jobs all in one state. So overall, we're seeing North Carolina's only getting more tax competitive as lawmakers continue to make adjustments. And more 200K plus earners landing means that there's more pressure on luxury markets that they buy into, which has been doing relatively well recently. So I won't say there's a flood of high earners, but there is strong demand of earners for purchasing higher price points, which is, it's kind of difficult for some locals who are getting priced out of areas that historically they could afford. But that's also been kind of a national story. It's not just a Charlotte story, as the entire country has seen home prices go up substantially combined with high interest rates. So if you're making a move to the Charlotte area, what's it going to actually mean for you? Because if you want to live where Charlotte's money lives, you've got 3 very different zip codes to choose from. And if you're just looking for different sorts of lifestyles, there are 3 very different but very affluent lifestyles that you can pick from. In Charlotte specifically, some of the zips that have the highest affluence rate, just as a fun fact, I guess, Myers Park in Eastover, 28207, has century-old willow oak lined streets. It is the wealthiest zip code in the Carolinas with a $1.5 million entry point, and it's also one of the top 100 wealthiest zip codes nationally. Where's the new money building? Union County, Marvin in particular, is North Carolina's wealthiest town with a $250K median income. Weddington and also the fastest growing Waxhaw, which is up 134% since 2010, have seen large multi-acre estates, and also they've all seen some of the highest rated schools in the state and in the country. So Lake Norman, including Davidson, Cornelius, and Mooresville, there are some areas, especially on the west side of the lake, that will give you newer lakefront, but a lot of the classic lakefront racing money and athlete money are generally all on the eastern part of the lake. Again, Davidson, Cornelius, and Mooresville. And a lot of these are very established areas. They haven't gone anywhere in the last couple of centuries, or not centuries, good Lord. In the last several decades, I don't foresee them going anywhere in the next several decades either, because they're very, very stable areas. And you see Charlotte's kind of unique because there's many different areas and pockets that have affluence across both the North Carolina side of Charlotte as well as the South Carolina side of Charlotte, across the mountains out by Asheville and out by the coast around Wilmington. So there's a lot of options to choose from in North Carolina. You never really have to leave the state. It really just depends on what you're individually looking for. And so if you are interested in figuring out what would be some areas, towns, or cities that would best fit you across North Carolina or in Charlotte specifically, my team and I cover all of North Carolina, South Carolina, and all the wealthiest and not wealthiest zip codes across both. You can DM me on Instagram or comment below this video to get a link to either the Charlotte areas quiz, which I can put that on the screen as well. Scan the code, you can take that quiz. Or if you're trying to figure out across the Carolinas, North Carolina and South Carolina, where you'd like to end up, then you can also, again, send me a DM and I will hook you up with, we've also made a Carolina cities quiz, which can help you figure out what areas are going to be best for you to find whatever you're looking for, including if that's just affluent areas across North or South Carolina that will have all the other lifestyle things that you're looking for. My name is Lucas Roller, your trusted resource for all things real estate in North Carolina, South Carolina, Charlotte, and some of the most beautiful and cool places in the entire country that I have the honor and privilege of calling home. If you got any questions, hit me up anytime, and I will see you on the next live stream very soon. Take care and have a